It's exactly 1 year ago today that the Ulez extension came in. It's something that I felt very strongly about, living as I do right on the borders of Greater London and Kent, and the very furthest point away from central London in a Tunbridge postcode that somehow finished up in the 1960s in London. And I really felt this just doesn't work, because the only people that pay the £12.50 Ulez charge are generally older people or poorer people who haven't got modern cars, and in particular, a lot of sole traders. A lot of people with vans doing deliveries or whatever it may be. I've never seen such anger in our local community over any political issue, and it was right across the board. Of course, I haven't paid Ulez. Don't need to. I've got a good job. I've got a car that complies. But I just think there's been a deep injustice with this, and I don't think for any environmental benefit. But I do wonder now, because the Labour government already have signalled that low traffic neighbourhoods, Ulez-style zones, and maybe even ultimately road pricing are the direction that we are going in. And, the idea, George, that, a Labour mayor of London taxes the poor but not the rich is pretty monstrous.
Well, I think, first of all, it's fair to say, Nigel, that I'm sure Sadiq didn't target you personally.
No, my community, not me. I know.
By locating it there. Yeah. Having said that, there are benefits. There have been two studies, one by the University of Bath and the other the University of Bristol, which have found, first of all, that the number of respiratory, lung and heart problems that are happening in those areas that are in Ulez has gone down markedly. I think it's around 8%. And the other one, which was into the economics of it, has found that the number of cars that are bad at causing emissions has gone down as well. So there are positive results. Now, at the time, I have to admit, I was a bit worried about it. Well, I think the evidence is starting to actually arrive now that shows that it is working in terms of health.
If you want to be healthy in London, don't get the London Underground. Because that air quality is absolutely appalling, far worse than being next to a major dual carriageway, the A13 or the M4 or whatever it may be. I just find it's a huge hypocrisy in all this.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is. No, it really is.
I haven't seen any evidence.
Yeah, I've seen some very strong evidence that the London Underground, the air pollution levels are horrid. George, Louise Hayes already indicated that low traffic neighbourhoods, where roads get closed off, that the anti-car drive is going to continue. There's even rumours that we may get some quite big fuel hikes in the budget coming up. If you live in the middle of London, you don't need a car. I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I buy that. Probably Manchester the same. And but actually, is this reasonable and fair on most working people?
I think it's difficult because you're quite right about London. It's got an outstandingly good public transport system.
Yeah. Maybe not good air quality, but good public transport.
Well, even in urban areas like Knowsley, that I used to represent, as the MP, I couldn't get from one end to of the constituency to the other without first going, if I wanted to use public transport, without first going into Liverpool and then going out again. Yeah. Whereas I could get to the other end of it in 7 minutes in my own car. So you've got to have a public transport system that will support people to make quick, efficient and comfortable journeys. And we haven't got that, certainly not outside of London, and we need to work on that, but it's a long-term project.
I sometimes feel, Andrea, that it's the middle-class, public sector, pro-cycling lobby.
Oh, completely.
Who kind of dominate the whole debate on this.
Definitely. They want everyone to ride a bike, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm too lazy for that, I'm afraid. But in my sort of constituency, when Leeds did this clean air zone, again under Labour, it was affecting the small businesses, the van drivers. It was affecting the LGV transport companies, and some was going out of business, Nigel. And what I fear under Labour, I mean, God knows why they re-elected Khan in London, but I think we're going to see this replicated in every town and city over Britain.
It feels like it.
I think so.
It feels like it. By the way, I've just had in my ear some stats from 2019 that the air quality on the London Underground was 30 times worse by particulate than being next to a main road. So, but you know...
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, no, it really is quite strong. I mean, it really is, isn't it, the poor that pay the price for this?
Completely. Absolutely.
It's the poor, it's the small trader.
They're the ones who buy the second-hand cars, got their old bangers, and they can't afford the
And yet, if we go back to
yeah.
the start of this programme, my opening sentence, it doesn't much matter anymore whether Labour win elections or Conservative win elections. Who was the big champion for Ulez to begin with? One Boris Johnson. So we don't really have much open debate on this stuff, do we?
Well, as I said earlier, Nigel...
We do on Jimmy News, but...
No, but look at the whole green agenda in Parliament. Every party, you know, obviously besides Reform, every party over the last few decades have been trying to push this net zero agenda.
They have. And Leeds, what's the impact of the zone been?
Not much impact. There's still lots of cars going into Leeds.
It's still busy.
And it's still, you know, stuck in traffic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean...
But as George quite rightly said, if you haven't got the infrastructure and the networks and you've got a useless bus service as well, then people are not going to look at other routes, are they?
Ultimately, are we going to all finish up with black boxes in our car and be charged per mile for where we drive and where we go around the country?
Road pricing. I mean, it's not something at the moment I'd support, but it may well be. I mean, the one thing we need to accept is that motoring, cars, diesel or petrol, are major causes of air pollution.
Yes, but they are getting better, aren't they?
CO2, they are getting better.
A lot better.
They are getting better. But, you know, we need to get people... I mean, when I was a child, and even I suspect when you were children, the number of cars on the road were far less than now. The level of congestion was far less than now. And, you know, I find it, for example, I find it really disheartening when I go past a school as the children are going into school.
Cars everywhere.
And there's a big queue of cars.
Yeah.
And the parents probably only live like 200, 300 yards away. You know?
I know. That is bonkers. There is more traffic. There are more people, of course, which is part of that. Although, I mean, it seems almost most families now are 2 or 3 car families. They really, really are. Road pricing, Angela, is that where we're going in the end?
I think let's watch Khan, because I think if it's going to happen, Khan will do it over the next few years. Yeah. If anyone's going to do it, he will do it.
Do wonder. Now, great car enthusiast, of course, is Jacob Rees-Mogg, who does drive 1 or 2 motor cars that may not be the cleanest and greenest.
But they're old enough to be exempt.
Yeah, I know. You just about get away with it. I don't know what you think, Jacob, but I just feel every indication of where we're going with motoring policy is leading towards...
I'm sure you're right. I think that is the aim. I think the bureaucracy wants it. And the politicians will fall into line, as they tend to do. And your point's so right. All our voters are motorists, or almost all of them, and they like their cars. Right. And anti-car policy has ruled governments since Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister. Perhaps a little bit of John Major was pro-motorist. But since then, it's been anti-motorist, anti-motorist, anti-motorist. And this is the classic of the blob. And a new Conservative government or a new Reform government should be avowedly pro-motorist and should get rid of all of this and get rid of road pricing. Because road pricing is an attack on freedom as well. It's to monitor you.
Well, literally, everywhere you go at any moment in time, you could be trapped. But we'll be told it'll help us with crime.
That's such a bogus argument. It's one they use the whole time to use security, because nobody can investigate what security really means.
Big interview with Robert Jenrick, playing tonight on your show.
That's right. Robert kindly gave me an interview. We'll be broadcasting that and discussing it, seeing whether he has the answers that people want for a future Tory leader. Does he have the right answers on immigration? Does he have the right answer on taxation? What do you think of Nigel Farage?
And is he a genuine convert?
That's my first question to him.
Interesting. Oh. Well, we'll find out. We're going to get the answers from Jacob. He absolutely won't give them to me right now because he wants you to stay with him until after the news. I'll be in the car listening in very intently. Thanks, everybody. I'm back on Tuesday next week. I'll be with you.